When I think about Leo Cleary, I pretty much always also think about the national anthem. There is an analogy to be had there. When they play the national anthem, everyone stands up. When Leo Cleary got in a race car, after about lap 3, you could look around and everyone was standing up. And I suspect there are few people in this room who have not at some point in time or another stood to either cheer him or boo him or wonder how the hell he made that move work at all. Whether it was 3 wide on the outside, 3 wide in the middle, or 3 wide on the bottom, somehow he did that. But I wonder how many of you in this room also know that Leo Cleary was a terrific fabricator. Eddie Flemke came up with a front-end suspension system that bore his name for many years, and Leo took a look at that and said, if it works well in the front, I'm going to put it in the back as well. And thus was born the Cleary rear end, very similar to the Flemke front end. And those spectacular cars, the M2s that raced, Leo did the bodies on those things. Carry the body home, work on it, get it absolutely perfect, put it on the race car, and then go out and race the wheels off the car. At one point in time, the garage where Leo worked was so tight that they had to move the car around in order to work on it. If they wanted to work on the right side, they'd roll the garage door open, roll the car back, push it way over to the left side of the garage, and there was barely enough room to get in there and work on the race car. And Leo worked on it, and he drove it, and he won with it. And a few days ago, I called him and I said, gee, of all the places that you raced, of all the big events that you won, of all the cheering that people did for you, which was your favorite track? And with no hesitation whatsoever, he said Westboro. And with no hesitation whatsoever, he said, because you could pass there. And I think that's the most enduring memory I have, Leo, of your driving, is watching Leo pass cars. And is that not what this is all about, is passing cars? And God, did he do that and do it so well. One night at his favorite Westboro, he won in 2 separate divisions using 2 different cars. He cleaned house, the heat, the semi, the feature. It was a big night, and to have passed that many cars was a bigger night to Leo, perhaps, than having won some of the huge events at Stafford or Thompson or some of the other places where so many people came and watched him. If we had all night and some of tomorrow, I could perhaps go through the races that Leo Cleary won and the championships he won as well. Unfortunately, we don't have all night and we don't have all day tomorrow either, so I just suggest you take a look at your program, and there is a small bit of it in there. Certainly one of the reasons he won so often was that Leo Cleary was just a darn good race car driver. But he was also a finisher. It was so very rare that the race would end and Leo would be sitting in the infield or somehow or another in the pits. He knew how to make the race car go just fast enough to do exactly what he wanted with it, which was to pass everybody who was in front of it until he finally got into the lead. He raced for some of New England's best and most prestigious car owners. If a guy had a great race car, chances are at some point in time or another, he picked up his telephone and he called Leo and said, would you please run my race car? You've already heard about several of them, but maybe we ought to point out that Rolly Lindblad, at the very tail end of Leo Cleary's career, gave him a chance to extend it some more, and when you ask Leo about his favorite race cars, oh, he loved that Pro Stock he drove for Rolly Lindblad. What a pretty car, and how well it really ran. Now 70 years old, Leo Cleary is still competitive. He's living in Florida, playing golf and trying to beat Georgie Summers and Gene Bergen and some of the same people he rubbed wheels with for so very many years on New England's racetracks. It is so appropriate and so fitting that tonight he is being inducted into the Near Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Leo. Come on up and get your plaque. Take the microphone. Talk about your crew.
Thank you. There's a lot of people in here that got me where I'm at. Number one, my wife passed away 22 months ago. And I never treated her right, but, you know, she stuck with me. But there's Joe Garria, Father John, he's a priest. Joe Brady. And there's always that Rolly Lindblad. When everybody thought I was done, he says, "You just started, son, come on." So off we went, and I tell you, I sat in the best race cars that were ever made, and Rolly Lindblad had a lot to do with it. Joe Brody and I, we went all over the place. You know, when I was a kid, my father, I got to X-rate this a little bit, a little add to this. My father told me when I was a kid, "Son, don't masturbate, you'll lose your hearing." Well, one of my crew members, he's 85 years old, he can't hear or see. So that'll tell you a lot about him. I want to thank everybody, because it took a lot of people to get me here. Thank you.
Jackie. Back way up, Bill. Get this going.
That one's yours. Thank you.
This is your program number card. This is one of the programs number 1 through 8. I hope you wear your back properly.
At great risk. I got a personal favorite little story on Leo Cleary that tells you what a hard competitor he is, and I've kind of asked him to relate it to those of you who haven't heard it.
You know, Stafford Springs, there was a bunch of competitors down there, and I'll tell you, it was tough. You know, like Eddie Flemke and Ronnie Bouchard, Bugsy. I was a tiger. I didn't care if there was $10 in the heat. I wanted to win it. I mean, I thought second sucked. And today it still does. I'll tell you, it still does. Georgie Summers and I played golf with Gene Burge and Georgie's brother. And boy, when you beat Burgeon for $2, you got a lot to be proud about. But I got to tell you about Stafford. You know, I wanted to win every race. So Bugsy and Freddie and especially Ronnie and Bugsy and Eddie Flemke, they'd see me coming by, trying to get by. They'd get side by side. They'd be slowing down. I see them look at each other. Here he's block. But I love them all. Thank you.